Ever get that feeling like something's not quite right? Like, behind the smile, something's off.
It's like a sixth sense almost.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that feeling is basically the foundation for this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
We're looking into the case of Dr. Mark Sawusch, a top-tier surgeon living the dream in Malibu who ends up dead. And guess who's left living the high life in his mansion? A yoga instructor couple he called his best friends.
It's wild, right? I mean, on paper, you've got a brilliant surgeon trained at the best hospitals, top of his game, right? Then you've got Anthony Flores and Anna Moore, this couple seemingly chasing that California sunshine, teaching yoga, all about that wellness lifestyle.
Total opposite. So how do their paths even cross?
Well, it all starts at Kippy's Ice Cream in Venice Beach. Kind of a weird place to find a world-renowned surgeon, don't you think?
Yeah, a little. Unless he's got a serious sweet tooth for vegan ice cream.
Maybe, but here's the thing. The source material mentions them showing up in suits at an ice cream parlor on the beach.
Okay, that's a little strange. Who wears suits to get ice cream on the beach?
Exactly. It makes you wonder if this whole chance encounter was maybe a little more planned. Like, what were they doing driving over 300 kilometers from Fresno for some vegan ice cream?
Right. Something's not adding up. So they meet at this ice cream shop, and then what?
Things move fast, like really fast. We're talking strangers 1 minute, best friends sharing a Tesla the next.
Whoa, hold on. That's a serious jump. I mean, I wouldn't even loan a best friend my car that quick.
Right. And that's the thing. It makes you wonder about Dr. Sawusch. We know he was battling some things, bipolar disorder, addiction. Could that have made him, I don't know, more vulnerable to someone worming their way in?
It's a good point. Everyone's looking for connection, and sometimes when you're struggling, you're more likely to trust the wrong people.
Exactly. And the source material, it hints at Dr. Sawusch feeling really isolated even before meeting this couple. His struggles, the pressure of his career, it probably felt like a lot.
That's heartbreaking, actually. This brilliant guy, probably just craving some normalcy, some friendship, and bam, he gets caught up with, well, we don't know for sure, but maybe not the best crowd.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder about those vulnerabilities, like how much did they know?
Right. Speaking of his career, what kind of surgeon was he? What's so special about this guy?
He was an ophthalmologist, but not just any ophthalmologist. This guy was doing incredibly complex eye surgeries, the kind that requires insane precision, years and years of training. We're talking operating on the tiniest parts of the eye using instruments smaller than a hair.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive.
Right. I mean, this wasn't just some fancy doctor. This guy was gifted, dedicated. It makes you think about all the people he could have helped.
Yeah, the ripple effect of someone like that leaving medicine is huge. So we've got Sawusch over here battling his demons, achieving incredible things, and then we've got Flores and Moore working on their own thing.
Exactly. And their story is, well, let's just say they were good at presenting a certain image. Like Flores. His real name was Anton David. Turns out he'd been crafting this artist persona since high school.
Interesting. So a bit of a reinvention there. And Moore? What's her deal?
Well, she went to fancy acting schools, had dreams of the stage, that whole thing. It's like they were drawn together by this desire for a certain lifestyle, a certain image.
The California dream, right? Sun, success, recognition. It's a powerful motivator.
For sure. And their yoga studio in Fresno, the Fulton Yoga Collective, it was like their stage. They built this image of spirituality, wellness, attracting a following, becoming these gurus in that world.
It's amazing, isn't it? The lengths people go to create this persona, this image for the world. What were they searching for?
That's the question. And it gets even more interesting because not long after meeting Dr. Sawusch, guess what? They moved from their modest Fresno apartment to his Malibu mansion.
Talk about an upgrade. Okay, yeah, now things are getting really interesting. So what happens next? So they're living in the lap of luxury, Malibu mansion, the whole 9 yards. You'd think they'd be happy, right?
You'd think so. At first, it seems like it's all beach walks and fancy dinners, music playing, like a scene out of movie. But you know how it is with movies. There's always more going on beneath the surface.
And in this case, I'm guessing those good times didn't last long.
Not exactly. The source material, it paints this picture of things changing once Flores and Moore moved in. That whole friends enjoying life vibe, it takes a turn.
A turn for the worse, you mean? What happened?
Well, Flores, he starts positioning himself as some kind of life coach to Sawusch, talking about bringing fluidity and ease into his life. It's like, looking back, it all seems very calculated.
Calculated how?
Like, he was waiting for the right moment to make his move. And wouldn't you know it, that moment comes on July 4th, 2017.
Okay, that's kind of specific. What's so special about that date?
That's when Dr. Sawusch, already dealing with his own stuff, gets arrested. Assault on the Santa Monica Pier.
Whoa. Assault, as in, like, he hurt someone.
That's what the source material says. Now, whether this whole thing was orchestrated or just a terrible coincidence, we don't know for sure. But one thing's clear. Flores saw this as his chance.
His chance to do what?
Take control. He uses the arrest, the whole bail situation, to convince Sawusch to give him power of attorney.
Hold on, power of attorney, like control over his finances, his decisions?
Exactly.
But why would Sawusch agree to that? I mean, this is a brilliant guy, right?
That's the thing about vulnerabilities, right? Like we were saying, Sawusch was struggling. Bipolar disorder, addiction, it can cloud judgment, make you more susceptible to manipulation. And from what the source material hints at, Flores knew exactly what buttons to push.
That's scary. It's a reminder that anyone can be manipulated, especially when they're vulnerable.
Exactly. And there's even a text message from Flores to a friend around that time. It basically translates to, I took control of the beach house. Pretty telling, don't you think?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Talk about your evil plans out in the open. So what happens with Sawusch while all this is going on?
Well, with Flores calling the shots, things go downhill fast. He starts making decisions for Sawusch, signing medical documents. He even forces Sawusch into retirement over the phone.
He's kidding, right?
Yeah.
Forced him into retirement over the phone.
That's what the source material says. This brilliant surgeon forced to give up his career just like that. It's heartbreaking, honestly.
Totally. This guy dedicated his life to helping people, pushing the boundaries of medicine, and then boom, it's over. And what are Flores and Moore doing this whole time? Are they at least trying to help him through this?
Not exactly. While Sawusch is dealing with all this, they're busy turning his mansion into their own personal party pad.
Oh, come on. Seriously.
Yeah, they're throwing these lavish Zen Sundays, private chefs, the whole shebangs, like they're rubbing it in his face.
It's disgusting. But there's more, right? What's this about a wellness regimen? A wellness regimen. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Especially in Malibu. You'd think they'd at least get some decent smoothies out of it.
You'd hope so. But this was different. The source material goes into detail about this regimen, and let's just say it wasn't about green juices and yogurt treats. It was more like control.
Control? What do you mean?
Well, remember that massage therapist I mentioned, Amanda Tardif? She worked at the house, and what she saw, it's disturbing.
Okay, what did she see?
She describes this really hostile, controlling environment, and Flores, he's the ringleader. Sawusch was getting up to 8 hours of massages a day.
8 hours? Seriously, that's more like a full-time job than a wellness routine? Was there something wrong with him?
That's the thing. No one seems to know why. And according to Tardif, if the therapist did anything Flores didn't like, even used the wrong lotion, they get yelled at, threatened.
Whoa. Okay, that's not right. It sounds like this whole wellness thing was just a cover for something way shadier.
Exactly. And the massages, that was just the beginning. Tardif said they were also giving Sawusch hallucinogenic mushrooms, ketamine, LSD.
Hold on. Seriously.
Yeah.
Those are heavy drugs, even if you're using them recreationally. But to give them to someone without their knowledge, especially someone already struggling, that's messed up.
It is. And the source material, it makes it pretty clear that Sawusch wasn't in a position to consent to any of this. This wasn't about wellness. This was about control, plain and simple.
Man, it's just awful. This brilliant guy taken advantage of like that. And it doesn't sound like things got any better.
They didn't. May 27th, 2018, security cameras at the mansion, they capture Sawusch's final moments. He collapses in his living room, alone.
Alone. What about Flores and Moore? They were there, right?
Eventually, Flores calls 911, but not from the house. He calls from a hotel, saying he thinks his friend might be dead.
Wait, what? He thinks. So he wasn't even there.
Nope. And that right there, it tells you everything you need to know about them.
Yeah.
They didn't care about him. Not really.
It's unbelievable. So after all that, what happens to Flores and Moore?
Well, right after Sawusch dies, they're focused on two things. Planning this big, fancy funeral for him, and trying to get their hands on his money.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. They were going for the inheritance while planning his funeral? The audacity of some people.
I know, right? But they messed with the wrong guy, or at least the wrong guy's loved ones.
So someone fought back.
Oh, yeah. The fight over Sawusch's estate, it went on for years. Flores and Moore, they really thought they could get away with it. But finally, in 2023, Flores gets arrested in Fresno, and Moore, they catch her at an airport coming back from Mexico.
What? No way. After all that time, what did they get charged with?
Fraud, money laundering, elder abuse, the whole 9 yards. Flores is actually serving 15 years right now.
Good. 15 years. That's what you get for messing with people's lives like that. What about Moore?
She's still waiting on her sentence, but it's not looking good for her.
Good. She deserves everything she gets.
Yeah.
This whole story is just a reminder to be careful who you trust. Things aren't always what they seem.
That's the truth. And sometimes the people you think are your friends, they're the ones you need to watch out for the most. It's a sad story, but an important one.
It is. Well, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay safe out there.